tonight and be with us at this town hall meeting. I'm sure you'd all rather be at home watching the Iowa caucus. No? Okay, my name is Pat Leach, and I'm here as an independent individual, not part of a group or an organization. And I want you to know that because for the last 11 years I've served on your fire board as a board member. No applause. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And I was invited to facilitate the meeting with Hank, because Hank and I have worked together since 2007 on at least 6 different projects directly related to the ridge. And been in dozens of committee meetings with him, and I always found him to draw out the information that was needed and bring together the people with solutions. And I expect nothing less going forward. So thank you again for being here tonight. And I hope some of you will join some of our struggling organizations in the community and keep giving us your help. There's many good opportunities out there, and they don't take a lot of time. I know the fire department would love to have another admin volunteer, and the library would love to have volunteers, and the Family Resource Center. So there's lots of good things to do up here and enjoy the company of your neighbors. Thank you very much.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is to not clap because it takes time and we only have a little bit of time. This just came to me. We asked earlier this week if we had an agenda and we're told no. So this was a surprise to me, this agenda that he has brought. And contrary to what the advertisement says, they did not solicit us for this meeting. It was I who called Pat and said, we need to have a town hall with our supervisor. We need to have him accessible to us where we can talk to him. As I sat in my car the night that they enacted the ban and listened to the radio, I felt invisible. I'm a patient. I've lived in this county for 39 years, and I felt completely invisible to our elected officials. We need to be able to talk to him. We need to be able to ask him questions, and we need to have answers. We deserve answers. We vote. He works for us. We do not work for him. The rules of this meeting are thus. There will be no clapping because it takes time, and we don't have time. If you want to clap or you agree, we'll use the deaf way. We'll raise our hands and shake our fingers if you feel like you need to agree with something somebody else has said. We will be polite. We will not be disrespectful to Hank Wesson. We will not call him names. We will not harass him. And anybody who does that will be asked to leave immediately. So that's the rule. There will be no interrupting. Now, I'm not sure what to do with this because I don't want to hear about a darn thing on this thing, but I'm not in control of that, supposedly. This meeting was called about the ban. And he says he has to talk about some of these things and that he's going to go through them as quickly as possible. I think I've asked him, we have him for an hour and a half, and he said probably 10, 15 minutes we're going to give them to him. But first, before we do that, we have to get clear about something. And I want to say this about Hank Wesson. He, more than any of the supervisors, he has the biggest district. He has the most diverse district of all the supervisors. He probably has the hardest job when it comes to representing all of his constituents because we are very different than Lake Wildwood. Although I want to say this, if you've ever been in the store across from Lake Wildwood, you would find so many organic, good health food in that little store that I would say that perhaps we're not quite that different. We have a lot of things in common. So my first question I have to, before I turn this over to Hank, I have to ask him before we go any further, because this meeting may be over right now. And so I have to ask him. Hank, it says that this is not a public hearing, and my question to you is, we have a lot of questions about this ban. Are you going to talk and have a conversation with us about this and answer our questions?
Yeah, the only thing the public hearing is not, you don't have to adhere to 3 minutes, you don't have to hear to all the official stuff in a public hearing.
Okay,
And it does not, it's just between you and me,
yeah,
doesn't affect the other board members whatsoever.
right. That's why we wanted you, we just want to talk to you. I am going to impose a time limit, just because we have a lot of things to get through, we have a lot of questions, and this man has a lot of explaining to do to us, and we want to give him time to do that, ample time to do that. So, I hate gavels. Okay, we won't do that either, but if anybody goes, I mean, this is a people's meeting, this is not my meeting. Well, I called it, and Pat was so graciously to work with Hank's office to get this happening. So I'm going to hand this over to this man whose mind we have got to change. We have got to somehow help him understand that we also need to be represented. So let's welcome our supervisor, and let's get through this other stuff as soon as possible. Thanks.
Quit talking so we can get through it. Okay, the agenda was, when it was the first setup, it was a town hall meeting. One of the items, of course, was the ban and medical marijuana, but there are other things up here that at least some of you are interested in. I'll touch on them quick, and then if you have more questions, you can get a hold of me. The water supply project for North San Juan, which is right here in the town, is out. It was bid, it was granted on Friday. The study will be completed by the end of July, and then we will go forward and try and find the funding to get emergency fire water, so that, long-term fire protection water, so that we can get, some of these places can get their commercial use permits and the area can grow. I mean, that's the whole point of it. You guys are all up to date on the Bridgeport. Just a quick one, there's going to be a sewer line project, and it's going to, for those of you who travel Pleasant Valley Road, starting in about probably May, June, Pleasant Valley Road, well, it'll be actually be a little later, probably around July and August, will be torn up, which will affect the travel back and forth. Just so you know, no surprises, they're replacing 5 miles of wastewater treatment line in. It will affect your driving if you drive Pleasant Valley Road. Just some quick things. There's going to be major projects up here all year on road safety signage. They're going to be all new signs, new paint, new road markings. And in 2018, the bridge at Purdon at Shady Creek will be replaced. It's about a $2 million project. They're going to replace the whole bridge. On Purdon Road, we're across the Shady Creek.
The little bridge before you turn into Whittlesey.
They're going to be replacing the bridge.
Maybe I give you sewers in San Juan sometime anytime, maybe?
What?
Sewers in San Juan? A sewer project in San Juan?
There's no, we can only, let's see, in our study, we can only increase it another 30 EDUs, which would mean that if we get the fire protection water, we have about 30 more EDUs we could squeeze out of the existing, which would allow additional use permit allowances. Okay, I'm just going to, I think a very important thing everybody needs to consider, continuation of the library tax measure. Okay, the tax measure is going to come up. That's what funds libraries. The only way we're going to get some money for the community library is that passes. And then we get a plan to make sure that some of that gets allocated to the San Juan Ridge Community Library. But there's no new money unless this thing passes something passes that, it's an eighth of a cent on sales tax now. They're talking about a quarter cent that will make money available.
When are they going to determine when that quarter cent happens?
Please stop interrupting him. You can raise your hand, excuse me, but raise your hand, and let him call on you, let him finish talking.
The vote is in November. I mean, that's what they're talking about, putting it on the ballot. And other than that, the only other, we had a workshop. There's two areas in this 4th district that I think really need the benefit of a Mac. Okay, what's a Mac? No, it's not a Big Mac. It's not a McDonald's hamburger system. A Mac is a municipal advisory committee. And in Penn Valley, Rough and Ready, there's a lot of things that go on that I need to get quicker contact with the community. This is in North San Juan. So if we had an official MAC, which means that you are appointed and you meet, and your job is to outreach to the community, get the information back, and then we send our recommendations based on what the MAC said to the planning commission, to whoever. I just think there's no other governance up here, very little down in Penn Valley. This would give us a different say on how projects, things happen in the county. So I wasn't successful in getting a very high priority with my fellow supervisors, but I did at least get it to the lowest priority, one of the lowest ones. So I'll be working with Penn Valley to try and put together a model that we'll try and work over the year and then take it back to the board members, and hopefully they'll vote it in as a high priority to put in place since they do the appointments. And the only other thing is there's lots of advisory boards and commissions, and North San Juan has no representatives on a lot of them, and there's openings. For example, the sewer, yes, there hasn't been a representative since Bill left. There's no input coming in from North San Juan. There's commissions and things to be on. All I'm saying, if you got time and you want to do something, get on some of those committees and do something. Otherwise, we don't hear from you. I have to call around, well, what do you think about this? And it's very difficult. So, those of you who are interested, there are plenty of them. So with that, I will back out. You go ahead.
Want to sit down?
Should I?
I want you to know I don't hate you.
I want to tell you that before I start bombarding you with all my questions. Okay, we're going to get rid of these. But I'd really like you guys to stand up and ask your own questions if you really object to it. And the reason I want to do that is because none of these questions are so outrageous that anybody should be afraid to ask them. Hold on a second, I get to ask the first question. And this is my question to you, neighbor. First, I'm going to ask them a question. How many people in this room can afford to build a permitted outdoor room? Wait, can you afford to build one?
I don't know, what is a permitted
Indoor?
Yeah, an outdoor building means you have to have, it has to be completely up to code.
Indoor.
How big is that?
Indoor. There is no outdoor anymore, sorry. That
Explain
depends.
what you're asking to build.
Huh?
Explain what you're asking to build.
Well, according to the new ban, it has to be a coded room, which is not attached to your living space.
Excuse me, we have Jonathan Feldman from Forever Flowering here, and they do greenhouses. He might have an idea at least what the cost is on a greenhouse.
Okay, but we're not talking about, this is a basic question, and please, let's not play word games today. How many of us can afford to build one of those up-to-code buildings to grow our marijuana in, our medicine in? We have 1, 2 people in this room. You could. You don't even use it. You could vote for me though, maybe. Oh no, that would be illegal.
It's not worth it.
So my question to you is, what are you going to do to help me? I cannot afford it. I barely make it. I have 3 pair of pets. What are you going to do to help me? That's my question to you. If I cannot afford to build a grow room, and I'm your constituent, and you are obligated to represent me, what are you going to do?
Well, the first thing I do is find out how we can meet the standard without being crazy about it. And that's working with the building department. How am I gonna help you? I can't help you personally. All I can do is to make sure that what they're requiring is not ridiculous and is not unreasonable. So from that standpoint, that's the only approach I can take. I can't take any other thing to change what their building standards are, although that may be an option as we get into it. We find things that we can do that we can make it easier for you to put up.
One more question that I'm gonna pass to you. Do you understand by what you guys did? I'm just gonna keep it to you instead of you guys, because I really wanna put this in your lap, because it's in your lap. What this means is that if I decide I'm mad at this man, I can call the authorities and say, this man has a marijuana plant in his house. And that's, code enforcement can show up to your house. You have no right to tell him he can't come in the house. He doesn't have to have a warrant.
Oh, yes, that's not true.
We'll clarify
You
that.
can deny entry.
And then what happens?
Well, he has to go back and get a
Stop
warrant.
it.
He has to go back and get a warrant and to inspect the property. People can't just walk, I don't think the sheriff can walk on your property unless he can see a violation of crime.
You're right, the sheriff can't, but code enforcement can.
They are not allowed unless they're allowed to come on. They go back and get a warrant.
You heard this man say this. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, first of all, just to address.
Please introduce, two things. Please introduce yourself and tell me how long you've lived in this county.
My name's Jonathan Baldwin, owner of Forever Flower and Greenhouses. I've been here on and off since '95. We had a chance to meet when I applied for the Ag Commissioner Assistant's position, which unfortunately I was turned down to because I was quote unquote too progressive right now because of my stance on cannabis. But first of all, one thing I know, in order for us to engineer a greenhouse and get a wet stamp, it's $2,700. The county then charges $2,500 for your permit fee, so you're in over $5,000 with no equipment. But my question to you really is, you voted for a ban, and then just after that, and with all due respect, you jokingly said, you can put one or two out in the garden, it's no big deal. How are we supposed to have respect for you as our elected official, and how are we supposed to have respect for a law when our lives have just been drastically affected, and yet we were given a line, but then we said it's okay to cross that line?
So I don't understand what you said, what I said.
So you voted on the ban, but then just after that, you mentioned that it was okay to put one or two plants out in the garden.
Where did I mention
Yeah, I can go back and pull up the video for
Hey,
sure.
stop.
And it left a lot of us really confused, you know, because I would say most cannabis growers in this community want to have regulations and want to be in compliance. And we just had one of the worst things that could happen to us, and what we thought was a progressive movement that we were making in a conversation we were having, and really gathering these really good actors in our community that want to be in compliance and want to have a positive impact, want to contribute to our community, want to pay taxes, and want to live a good life. And so I'm just curious, how are we supposed to have respect for this law that was just imposed on us when you then directly tell us it's okay to break that law and put plants out in the garden?
Well, from my standpoint, and then this is not from the board standpoint, my standpoint, those who have been in compliance and have never had no complaints are going to continue and do what they did before. They are
Isn't that
going,
against the current code?
it's against code, but that doesn't mean, we've been breaking the law for 5 years here. We've been
Breaking the
selling.
law for decades.
Some of us have kids, man.
We're not gonna change the attitude and the decision-making process that everybody goes through. So, if you're not, it's a complaint-driven issue. If you're behaving with your neighbor and nothing comes out, then nothing happens.
Well, the concern about that is a lot of people have children here.
Okay, wait, that's it, then we're gonna go on. I'm sure somebody's gonna follow up with that. Patty, go ahead.
Hi, Hank. Patricia Smith, Americans for Safe Access. You just said that it's complaint-driven, but 80% of the complaints were issued by sheriffs or deputies, not by neighbors, so how do you square that? We
Right,
know,
the only thing I can tell you is that the neighbors call the deputies.
no, we have instances where the deputy was in the plane or helicopter, saw the thing, called it in, there was no complaint by any neighbor whatsoever, and we noticed a freedom of information request.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, you know that. I don't know that. I mean, all I know in the fourth district, there were 127 citizens complaints. So, just in my district. The other districts, they all had different numbers, but they were the most here.
How many people?
It's my understanding, very simply, that when a citizen calls in to the line, has a complaint, the sheriff is supposed to react. The rest of it is his business, and you need to understand, the sheriff is independently elected. We have no control other than his budget of what he does. He sets up his own operation. If we bring up things to him about that maybe aren't working, or it's still his decision as the elected official. Just like the tax collector she is independently elected, she calls her shot. Same with elections and all the others. They are independently elected and they control their business operation. So, I mean, I wasn't aware, or I'm not aware of the sheriff, other than his normal going out after the big stuff, going out and hitting up some neighbor for 2 plants. Well,
Okay, I just have to say.
I told him not to. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Besides the budget, you actually have a lot of control over what he does. You just gave him a band. You did really, so you have a lot of control over what he does. Gentleman in the hat.
I've been here 10 years. I own property in all districts. I own businesses downtown. And obviously from a economic standpoint, this is a no-brainer. You guys missed it big time. But that's not what's important. And I feel like what you guys are trying to do is make it safe, or perceivably safe. Kudos to you for doing that. But I don't understand how you can make such a drastic decision, and it may not be that for you, but for the entire county, from kids that go to school and all the way up, everybody is economically impacted by this, to which the impact will be seen as we move through this. My question is do you think that you and all the other board members took enough time to understand what those impacts would be before making your vote? Because it seemed like Sheriff came up there with the fear-mongering presentation, and you guys all bit. You gave us the 100 or so people that cried their eyeballs out to you, gave you so many reasons to at least stop and think about it before you voted. And then, so my question is...
Fair question, fair question. From my standpoint, the issue was the March 1st date. Even though everybody said, oh, it's going to change. Wait a minute.
I understand.
I'm the supervisor sitting there and told, March 1st, if you don't do something, the state's going to take it over. Now, the worst thing can happen in a county is the state taking it over, period. I don't care. I've seen enough of it. Everything comes with strings. Everything is totally bureaucratic. It's a mess. So my issue was March 1st. Okay, now the March 1st date, he still hasn't signed it, but the March 1st date has gone through the legislature and changed. Why were they that stupid in the first place to make us counties have to put up with a March 1st deadline when they have 2 years to make the rules? They don't even have their rules yet.
With all due respect, I think that was explained, that it was going to be...
Was going to,
Okay.
wait a minute.
I understand, but...
I've been involved with the legislature for many, many years, before this job and after, way before. They say things, and it never comes out. The bill almost got hijacked. So, to say that it was gonna happen, we had to act. But we followed up right away, and I have to tell you this, I represent, in this district, there's 20,000 people, all right? In the county, there's 62,000 registered voters. I get, for the last 3 years, I have gotten calls after calls from even up here on the ridge. People highly upset, crying, in some cases breaking down and crying because they can't sell their house because under disclosure rules for real estate, they have to say, I got to grow next door. So that affects the price of their house. They were planning to maybe use it as retirement or leave. Whatever the reason is, they're upset. I get those calls all the time. It's just not you folks that are upset. I get the calls all the time. My home, my wife gets at the store, gets hit up about this or that, or when is this gonna happen? So, from my standpoint, March 1st was the push date, then the ballot. Now, I am totally wide open. If the ban, outdoor ban is voted down, and I checked many times before we sat down at the dais with the county council, with the sheriff. In fact, I even have the language that's going to be heard Tuesday. If it's voted down, we're going back, pulling it out, and figuring out where we're going to go next. But the 62,000 people in this county have a right to speak. They've been griping to us, all of us, most of us, for 3-4 years. And we tried to put in the other ordinance, thought, well, maybe that'll take care of it, everybody will work together to make it work. It hasn't worked. So let the voters decide, tell me.
Okay, but I agree with that, but we have to have a clear ballot, and there's nowhere on that ballot that says anything about if it's overturned, and I think it's redundant to wait until we overturn it, and then to go back and work on it. You and I can go in the back room and fix this today.
It's fixed. I mean, I've seen the language. The language is very clear. The intent of the Board of Supervisors is if the ban is overturned, we will, when it's certified, that's the other part. It's not a good vote till it's certified. It takes 28 days to certify the election. As soon as the 28 days over, or whenever he does the election, certifies the ballot, if the ban is not upheld, then we immediately say in the intent, that's what's going to come up Tuesday, we pull it off, we go back to the emergency order and pull it off.
Juan, what's your name?
Strawberry Blonde. Hey, my name is Barbara Jones. You probably recognize my name from some emails I send you often. My problem with our approach to this ban is that we are now voting to discuss something.
Right.
There is nothing, when we go for a vote, we clearly get a ballot that says, these are the pros, these are the cons. This is what will happen if we vote for it, this is what will happen if we vote against it. To have to spend how much money for an emergency vote to discuss something is a clear waste of our tax dollars.
It's not a vote to discuss. It's a vote to pull that ban off the emergency ordinance.
But maybe I'm misunderstanding. If we vote for this ban, if the community votes and says, we want this ban, then that ban that's already in place goes forward. But if we as a community say, we do not want this ban, then you guys are going to go back to the table and start talking about what to do about it. Is that right?
No, I think at that point, we would have either some emergency meetings after if the election, okay, first off, the election results come in the night of the 7th, right? So we know which way it's going to go. My guess is we would have some kind of address to how to deal, what to let you grow on your parcel outdoors.
I think that as informed citizens, that we deserve to know what the repercussions of that vote will be before we go out to vote.
Well,
even the people who agree with the ban deserve to know that what will happen if it doesn't, and to vote to discuss it afterwards is not a good use of our taxpayer dollars.
You will. That's what they're putting the language together on Tuesday at 1:30. You will hear exactly what happens with the ballot.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yes.
Okay,
At 1:30 at the Board of Supervisors chambers. Now, I had already paid for, this is pure honesty, I hate to tell you this, but I had paid to go fishing on a very big fishing trip that I go once a year.
We don't care.
And I had no idea this was gonna go on. So, I have made arrangements that I will be in a teleconference up on the north coast, and I will be part of the hearing that goes on. So at that point, you would bring up, somebody would bring up that issue. Is it clear enough when the agenda will come out Thursday? When the agenda comes out Thursday, if it's not clear enough for you, then you need to let all the supervisors know. I'm only one. Takes 3 votes.
yeah, but you're ours.
Yes.
Baby,
You know how many times I've lost on 4-1 votes? Because of you?
Brad,
Supervisor Weston.
Yes.
My name's Brad P. Summer. You probably know who I am. We've met several times. My question is that cannabis in this county is a $440 million industry. Agriculture is 25. Okay? There's an estimate of 1,700 to 1,500 jobs that will be lost through businesses in this community, as well as a great increase in crime because of this. Okay, I would like to try to get your views on what you think of those points, if you could, please.
Sure. First off, I don't buy you 400 million. I've got,
That's probably a lot bigger.
wait a minute, not to the county. It may be to you folks, and it may be to the dispensaries, and it may be to other people, but it's not to this county, because I can show you 10 years worth of tax rolls that have come in. We haven't changed that much, so if you're generating all that money, it's not being spent here.
I would suggest that I would suggest
Oh,
that.
you'll find out soon.
I would just like,
Wait a minute.
okay, sure.
I have a finance guy who puts all the figures together. I trust him impeccably.
I
When
don't.
he puts it, hold on. Let me just show you. Over the last 10 years, the county sales tax, we'll go back, those aren't the figures. 2003 was sales tax, 3.5 million. Stayed pretty even, then it dropped off when the recession happened. You guys are still growing, but it still dropped off, so you guys weren't getting your full price. I don't know, but it's not there. Then it drops down, and now it's climbed back up to 34, okay? 3.4 million. That is the taxable sales in the unincorporated area in this county, period.
Is that the entire county, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Now-
So you're saying,
I'm not saying that you're not selling it and you're not making a lot of money. The county is not seeing it as part of our overall growth. Another example, here's sales tax in the whole county, all right? This is sales, not sales tax. 2005, 298 million. Dropped way down, 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 down. And as of 2014, the sales that generate a sales tax is 237 million, okay? Now, out of all that money, the county only gets 1%. 1% of the sales tax dollar, everything else goes to the state. So the state has not come back and said, oh, we're gonna, if this thing goes through, and we're gonna make this legal, and we're gonna sell and get money, we're gonna give you more of that sales dollar. Haven't done that, and they got 2 years to come up with their plan. Now, I'd ask the question, I said, well, what happens if they make it beneficial to us? Well, then, it might be advantageous, but right now it's not.
okay, do you mind if I just do a quick comment to that?
Yeah.
Okay, just being the engineer. Okay, $237 million, if you're getting 1% of that, correct? Okay, do you have an idea what that total sales number then is?
Yeah, that was the total sales number, 237 million.
237 million, we're getting 1% of that?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
You understand, we have a gal named Sarah Keene, and you probably have seen Ms. Keene's doctoral thesis that was done based upon the information that was generated by the Sheriff's Department.
What makes her thesis more than the facts of the dollars that come in.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but
Okay,
I'm just trying to correlate these numbers back and forth.
Okay.
And there's a difference, and I'm just trying to
Okay,
understand,
I
so
need
thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
I can even tell you the amount of money that comes from the hydroponic store, if you wanna know.
Well, yeah, no.
Okay, wait a minute, I have to tell you, when I look across this crowd, nobody in here looks very rich.
Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, what I want to ask is very
Your name,
simple.
please, and how long you've been.
Hi, my name is Richard Gibbons. I've lived here up on the ridge for 25 years now. What I want to know from you is when you were faced with an emergency that had to be decided quickly, and after last year you spent all the money coming up to the point where you made an ordinance that everybody seemed to be willing to work with, why you didn't just adopt that ordinance?
Just adopt that or keep it.
Just keep it, yes. And just say, we've already done the work for March 1st. We don't have to change
I
everything.
tried that.
Wait, I can answer that question, because Sheriff Royals is unable to do his job, and so he came back and asked.
I personally want your response.
Hey!
Guys,
The question, I asked a question, anybody who's in the audience, I asked that a specific question, was told by the county council, who is our attorney, that it didn't cover that issue. So I have to go,
What issue?
the county
What issue
council
didn't it
is the
count
one
then?
that protects me. So if she says no, you have to pass this new one based on the new laws that came through at the end of last year. That was my direction. I mean, I tried, I said, well, we already have an ordinance in place, why doesn't that count? Doesn't count because of the new law, so I said, okay, because the 16th, or the March 1st date was in the new law, not in the old law.
Aside from the date,
I can,
why?
I'm like you, I can only question, get an answer, and have to make a decision at that point based on what they said. But all along, the whole point of it is this thing needs to go to the public. This is not a supervisor's, there is, in my district, as I said, 20,000 people, and I hear from both sides. So, if I'm hearing from both sides, at least 3 of the other supervisors are hearing from both sides also, because they've got the same issues. So, to make, it's like Jefferson. For those of you who want to believe in Jefferson, we were told, well, put it on the ballot, put it on the ballot. I said, geez, in that case, I'm getting a lot of negative feedback from the public, doesn't want it to happen. So if you want to put it on the ballot, you put it on the ballot. If you think you have that many signatures, put it on the ballot.
I'm directing my energy in a different way.
Right. Anyway, so that's my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Ask for a clarification on your numbers. When you said the 200 and something million dollars in sales, what was that number?
237.
Is there some way to extrapolate out of that how much of that sales comes from marijuana money or from people that make money growing marijuana?
Well, we don't know how, you guys know, we don't know how much you make growing marijuana. We never asked.
But you don't know how much that contributes to the economy of the county. Some of that 240 million contributes.
Oh, I'm sure some of it is there, but it's not $400 million. That's why we don't even make $400 million.
Not everybody spends their money.
No, but
Okay,
They're not standing here.
Imagine if people leave.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
all I'm saying is that without an economic impact study that would tell you exactly how much cannabis contributes to the economy, those numbers don't really tell you how much of that money in the county is cannabis money.
Okay, well,
But that was.
No, sir, we have so many questions. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm a medical cannabis patient, and my name is Pauline Heaster. I've lived here for 25 years. I worked at the hospital for 15 of those years, and I've made some choices recently before this ban went in, that now I think it's really going to affect me. And this ban, waiting until June, is affecting when I can get my garden in. This is affecting my life, and it might take my life because of this ban. Because I use 3 grams of oil a day And that's really expensive. It's expensive when I grow my own outside in the sun. And it's gonna be astronomically expensive for me to put, for one thing, my house is 800 square feet. And I have myself, my son, and his girlfriend are upstairs. And there is no private place for me to put a room in that isn't living room, because I have a tiny house. I chose to build a small house. And so my question is, what are you going to do for people like me that I don't have another year to wait for you to make up your mind? I need my medicine every week, every day, every month. I mean, and I go through a lot every day, every week, and every month. And I need, it's not cash, I need that medicine. So what are you going to do for me? And I'm not the only person that's doing this. What are you going to do for me? You're taking my life.
Shake your hands.
Yeah.
You see that?
So the issue of medical marijuana and and medical cannabis, you've been growing it, I don't know how long.
I've been growing it for 5 years, but
5
I've been here
years.
for 25.
Okay, but nobody has complained about what you've done.
I have a person, my next door neighbor, he's pissed off at me because of my dog. Do you think he's not going to complain?
She's never complained about your grow, has she?
This man has been the bane of every single neighbor with all of his complaints about everything. So you don't think he's going to use that?
Well, you know, that's part of the issue of a democracy. And I guess I can only go by, yes, it affects you. If this person's upset, that's why the vote has to take place.
What you're doing for this year for me, for people like me, is that you're forcing me to be a criminal. You're forcing me to be a criminal because I have no other choice.
Okay.
And I'm not a criminal. I've been an upstanding citizen. I've taken care of people who were like me all of my life. I've contributed to this, I've contributed to this community the entire time I've been here.
Sufficient.
I don't have an answer for it. All I can say is the vote will take place, the vote will happen, we'll react to the vote of the public. As far as you growing.
Are you gonna come and bail me out of jail when they come and arrest me? Are you gonna come and pay for my property when they take my property away like the sheriff wants to do? Because I'm a criminal?
No, there's not gonna be
The stress
criminal.
of this being a criminal, you think that's not gonna affect how well my body can heal? The fear of a helicopter flying over you don't think that's gonna affect my body healing? You're not
Yeah.
taking into account what you have done to people like me.
Yes.
I think that we have an issue going on here that I'm incredibly uncomfortable with. And you bring that issue up, and you've had this issue with Royal, and Ricky and I had this issue with you, and this is this. You have banned it. You stood there before us, and you banned it. And then you stand here and say to us, well, if nobody's going to complain, go ahead and keep doing it. That is entrapment.
Yeah.
And we have that on tape.
We will not tolerate being told in public venue that we can't grow, and then be told in private or these little meetings that, well, as long as nobody complains. It's entrapment, and it's wrong. And there was a compromise between those people who complain to you because they don't like it, and us who need it, besides the band, and you guys chose not to do a compromise. Now you're saying you're gonna put it up there, but I just want you to understand that when you stand there and you look at this woman who is struggling to keep her life, and you say to her, well, if there hasn't been anybody complaining about you, that's entrapment. And it puts every one of us, it pits us against our neighbors, it puts our neighbors against us, and we cannot have that in our county. We do not want that in our county. So, that's what you've done, and that's, you go ahead and ask your question, please.
My name's Adam Hutchison. I've lived here.
Stand up, please.
Stand up. Lived here for 7 years. I was one of the people that the sheriff described when he said I moved here to grow my medicine. I moved to an area that is rural, that neighbors don't have an issue. I did everything I could to not be a nuisance, because I cared deeply. I think that that's a reasonable complaint of people who live in rural, in dense populated areas, neighborhoods with children, that they shouldn't have to be bombarded with it. I totally understand that. But that's not my situation. So I'm just wondering, why a ban? Why just an all-out ban? Even for this few months, why not take a softer tactic that allows people in more rural parts of the county that don't have an issue? And the other part is that you say it's a nuisance-based system. I've read the rule. It doesn't say anything about nuisance-based. Complaint-based. You know, I mean, who's going to complain? You know, I mean, if there's a helicopter going over your head, see something, is that a complaint as far as the sheriff goes? I mean, how do you rectify that? It seems like it's pretty, that's not a complaint. That's like the sheriff taking action.
Well, the sheriff in his operation can do anything he wants with whatever helicopter he wants.
Yeah. But if you give him the money to do that, you approve his budget.
You gave him extra helicopter money.
Yeah, we approve his budget, that's right. But it's under the premise that it's for lawbreakers, for the people who are really.
But hold on a second, you just made us all, by enacting the ban, you just made us, if you put one plant outside, which you've said is like, oh, don't worry about that, it's not gonna be an issue. You've made us all lawbreakers. So whether you are, trying to, say, oh, don't worry about it, it's only for big guys, but by enacting the ban.
I didn't say don't worry about it. We've been breaking the law for 4 or 5 years. Whoever's been selling it, 80% of it, 80% of what's in this county grown leaves this county. And it goes to other places.
There's no dispensaries.
In enough conversation.
You don't even know how much of an industry it
Several of
is.
you, I have heard that same amount.
Okay.
But you don't let dispensaries.
There doesn't seem, for as much as grown in this county, there isn't that many sick people in this county that could use it all.
You don't pay attention
What about
to
the
this.
patients who are here?
Okay, hold on a second. Tony, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try to make this brief. I didn't really want to be here tonight. My wife just went to UCSF for surgery for cancer, but she knew I had to come here, and that's why I'm not in San Francisco with my wife tonight. I'm going to talk about something that we're not talking about, because my problem isn't, I don't really believe that this is just about marijuana at all. I'm going to run through some documents here real fast.
Please do it quick, Tony.
This is the United States Constitution. This is Hank's, and don't take it personal, sir, because that's not into you. All of your supervisors, and I have to take this oath myself sometimes, every couple of years and every 10 years with the federal government. This is his oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, including your civil rights, as guaranteed under the Amendment Citizens' Bill of Rights. Amendment 4 states, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued, but upon probable cause, and you're saying that the nuisance complaint is probable cause in this instance, I would disagree. Supported by oath affirmation, which means you better have a signed witness making that complaint, and it better be available to everybody's attorney. That's just Amendment 4 of the United States Constitution. And then there's a slight problem at the bottom where it says the powers not delegated to the United States are not, nor prohibited to states, are reserved to the people. They don't belong to the county government, necessarily. You have to follow the rules. And if you talked about the difference between enforcing the law selectively. This ordinance is only for lawbreakers. If you don't put...
Tony, take a breath.
You don't put an ordinance on the books unless you intend to use it.
Yeah.
End of story. Now, how many of you were around in 1990 when this came around, the RV ordinance? At that point in time, code enforcement officers were not allowed to go onto your property. And yet it happened all over this county. And they tried to pass an ordinance to make it illegal to live in a trailer on your own property.
Okay, come on.
Now, we stopped that, but that's where I'm going. When you collude under federal law, under Title 181, 241, and 242, with anybody else to deprive a citizen of his constitutional rights, that's a federal felony and prosecutable. Now, I understand that you guys have liability insurance against suits, but you don't have liability insurance against criminal prosecution at the federal level. Yes, I understand. We'll never get there, folks, because it costs a lot of money. But the fact is, that's breaking the law. So when you say some of these people are lawbreakers, or people have been breaking the law this whole time, and da-da-da-da-da, the county is breaking the law. You are a lawbreaker as well, sir. And I'm sorry to say that, because I like you.
Tony, take a breath.
Okay.
Tony?
This is Nevada County Charter.
Excuse me, Tony, you've got 20 seconds. Go.
Okay, Nevada County Charter says we have to abide by those documents, including the California State Constitution, which says it has to be consistent with state law, has to be consistent with the federal. This guarantees the right to control your own property, what you do on your own land. It says it, you can get it online, read it there, do it tomorrow. Okay, this is the Agricultural Commission.
Tony?
This is, I'm just trying to get through it.
No, stop.
Ag Commission,
Tony.
look it up.
Tony.
I'm done.
Okay, I want everybody here to take a collective breath. Is everybody breathe? Is everybody, remember, we're here to build consensus. Remember what our goal is. We're here to get this man to see us. We do not want to be invisible to him. Hold on, we gotta ask somebody, go ahead.
Quick question. With the unknown, I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the partners of the Ridge Cafe. With the unknown future of the March 1st deadline, with that possibly being in the works of going away, maybe not, when you guys voted on the ban, did anybody consider deferring the vote until maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of February to give the state more time to work that bill through and then see how urgent it was, rather than making your decision in January?
I think that was discussed, but no, we went with what was offered.
Andrew.
You gotta come to this side of the...
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I apologize. As soon as Andrew gets in, I apologize. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew Goodwin. I live in Penn Valley. I live in one of your valleys that supposedly has all the complaints. I live in Big Oak Valley. I would say since the previous ordinance was passed, about 99% of my fellow neighbors have gotten in compliance with the previous ordinance and tried to work with their neighbors to try to come to consensus. Now that I understand that you're doing the complete ban, my only question for you is, are you at least willing to put in a clause allowing all the patients that are here tonight to grow in their personal area and just ban commercial cultivation in the current one that's going on the ballot? That way, patients that are currently here can plant in their 10 by 10, because that's what the current law that's passed says per patient. There's no 99 script or anything like that. It's just 10 by 10 area, allowed to plant before the election. Would you consider bringing something up to the board to at least allow personal cultivation?
That is a great idea.
I'd probably consider anything, but I'm not sure that my fellow board members might.
But you can try. Don't worry about it.
You can change. Model
Yes, it gives you an opportunity to be progressive.
Woo! Yeah, I'm Pat Browning. I live here in this county, right here in French Corral. I've lived here for 76 years. And I'm sick and tired of smelling this damn pot all around my house. I want to ask them one personal question. How many plants does it take for you guys to be okay with for your own use? One, two, three? The lady that's sick, where is she? How many plants will it take to keep you all right?
Well, I go through 3 grams of...
I have no idea what that is.
Well, it takes a lot of...
2 plants, 3 plants.
Pound per ounce of oil.
I can't answer your questions when you're rushing me.
Okay. I'm not. I think you should have it. I have no problem with you raising your plants. But
The thing about medicine is that it's not like smoking a joint. You have to change it.
I do know that much.
And so the amount, like a pound, for instance, of pot will last me maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, maybe, if I'm lucky.
According to the Rick Simpson chart, for the Rick Simpson oils, it's a 10% return. Oil to
About,
plant.
you don't, I mean, it's not the same. I mean, I don't do it by the pound because I can't afford it. So I get about, for 2 or 3 ounces, I get about maybe 10 cc's, and I use about 3 cc's a day.
Just to give you an idea.
Wait,
We have one child who uses 27 pounds a year.
Brad.
Okay? That's one young child. That'll give you an idea from the upper end of the scale down to the bottom end of the scale.
So it kind of depends on who you are and what you need. And I personally, there's like an art to it because you need to grow the correct kind. And I have a hard time growing the kind of pot that's high in THC on my land because it's not a southern exposure land. And so I don't have the return that some people do, like 2 pounds a plant or something. My plants, even though I've been a horticultural gardener all of my life and have had a beautiful garden, my plants are never like the size of some people's plants.
Well, you ought to see my garden. I have the prettiest garden in French Corral.
I'd love to see it.
Okay.
And there's nothing in there that you can't pick and eat. You don't smoke it, you don't use
But
it.
that's a moral judgment.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
anyhow, I really like the one guy's deal over here that talked just, that guy.
I actually own CannabisCuresCancer.com, and I have some information that I'm going to give to Hank, and I'll give it to you now.
Let me finish up my mind. I can take off of my property anywhere I look and see hundreds of plants.
You ever smoked it?
No, I haven't, and I never will.
Okay, what's your first name?
Pat.
Pat Brownie. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Pat, I'm really glad you showed up tonight. I just want to ask a quick question. How many people here wish that we didn't have these big rows ruining, trashing our neighborhoods?
That was my question.
No, hold on a minute.
Say that one more time.
How many people in this room wish that we did not have these big, out-of-control growers making trouble for those of us? Pat, we just want you to know that we support you, that we don't want big grows here either. Okay, Anna?
Well, I was just gonna say to the same point that I mean, for me anyways, I don't support the big grows. But I know so many people that do not sell it. They actually grow it for their own personal use, for their own medicine. And that's where I'm questioning, in all honesty, Hank, is this gonna solve that problem? Banning outdoor grow, is it gonna actually solve the issue of those big grows? And I'm just convinced that it is.
My opinion is, only me, is that ban, if the sheriff is doing his job, it will take care of it. If he's doing his job, he'll go out there, he'll find them, and he'll eradicate them. That's the reason.
I know, I just don't.
But only if there's a complaint. All the rest of us suffer.
Okay, everybody take a breath. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Fox, and I've lived here my whole life. And what I see happening here from living here my whole life and listening to Hank speak is that there is a huge lack of trust on both sides. The supervisors do not trust the constituents do not trust the supervisors, and so what ends up happening is that there's a large amount of desperation from what is perceived as both sides of the issue. We've all smelled Pat Browning's cow shit for years. I agree with you. But everything about every one of our lives has something that each one of us can complain about. All over this county, there's junk cars and all kinds of problems. that being said, we all have to be tolerant because there's 7 billion people on the planet now. What I really want to say, though, is because so many people have framed this discussion as an economic thing, or they're only selling it to cannabis clubs, or they're selling it to make a profit, or they're only using it for a medical reason, because this has been framed in so many different ways, now there's a lack of trust from the government who looks to the people and thinks, well, you guys are hiding something, you're not giving us all of the information, and that causes a problem. And it's the other way around, too. We don't hear all of the things that you hear in your closed sessions, and so we feel like, well, there's a conspiracy to eradicate our culture and all these other kinds of things. That's just kind of the preamble. My actual question is, for the people who violate the ban, because it's not being enforced as a criminal ban, to my understanding it's being enforced as a civil ban, what I want to know is, if you don't know the numbers right off the top of your head, that's totally understandable. But if you can find out that information and make it public, that would be very beneficial to all of us, because there will be countless people who violate the ban. So what we want to do is find out what are those penalties, whether if you can somehow break it down to a per plant or something, because this is going to give people either an incentive or a, what's the word?
Deterrent.
A deterrent.
It's a disincentive.
Yes, right. So people will say, okay, well, if this is going to be attached to my land taxes because I'm unable to pay the fine as it comes, as it's posted on my gate or however it's enforced, people will think about it, well, how much is it worth to me to grow my, my plants that may be discovered, and how much is it worth to me to have that put a lien on my property or any number of other things. And I think that's an honest discussion, because there's a bunch of disinformation going on both sides of the issue, and it's really important to know that none of us are being very forthcoming with all of the information, whether it's from the government side or from the people, because everybody's a little bit scared.
I would agree with you 100%. What's in place now is the appeal process, and Heather Burke clearly laid it out in the paper of what would happen even now. Is that the best system? Personally, I don't think so. But it needs to be, as you said, very clear, whether it's a per plant violation or whether it's a number of days violation or whatever the violation is, you need to know they need, that has to be cleaned up totally. I mean, it has to be fully daylighted what it is. Right now, it's the appeal process. You can abate it yourself, which means I know you pick it up and you put it in a trailer and you move it someplace else.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can we
I
take
mean,
it to your house?
I didn't fall off the turnip truck, okay? I mean, I know what's going on, but you are totally correct. And the other part that you said that there's this distrust. There's a third part you got to throw in there, and that's the people who don't believe in what you do. Totally. So now they're a pusher. So you don't trust the government. I don't trust the government. And I'm part of the government, and I don't trust them. You got the growers who don't trust them. And then you got the people out there who are every day telling us they're fed up with it. So now, what do? Well, the first thing is we got to find out, this is 198,000 people live in this county. 62,000 registered voters. This is their right. Take the vote, see what it says. Somebody brought it up. There are lots of organic farmers out there, not growers, farmers, who may see it totally different. But at the end of the day, on June 7th, or whenever it's certified, the supervisor will have a clear understanding of what they're supposed to do. Now, I've got all kinds of emails from you guys telling me that, telling me a lot of stuff that I really don't need to pass on, but one of the things was that how could we agree to a ban or an ordinance that when you voted for it, you weren't going to get it voted? Well, From my standpoint, I specifically knew exactly when I was there what the vote meant. The vote was very clear. You support the ban, it's banned. If you don't support the ban, we have to go back and either reinsert something for per parcel. Patricia's got a good recommendation. I would just think in discussions, those are things that we have to look at to make sure you can continue for the medicine part. Again, it's illegal to be selling it across the county line on whatever you're doing. I don't, personally, I am not, I want everybody to have their medicine. I want them to have their medicine, get their medicine for themselves and their family members within this county. When somebody comes up from Berkeley, or is that one person, Oakland, and says, don't ban it because you got great shit here. and we want it. That's telling me that, well, they don't have an investment in this county. All they want is the stuff to come out. It's like somebody who's pumping oil out of your property. Same thing.
You don't want the weed in the county because you want the money.
What about this Christmas gifts?
He's next. Kit, go first. You're next. My name is Kit Fox, and I want to thank you for being here and putting yourself right in the front and taking all the hits. I hope you feel some love too, because I have two things I want to talk about, and one was what we just spoke about, and encourage you to realize that many people who need medicine live in areas in the country where they cannot purchase it. In the state, we'll stick to the state, where they cannot grow for themselves. Maybe not the space, maybe not the rules, maybe they're even too sick to grow for themselves. So some of the medicine that goes out, if it's 80%, is still going to the right place. It's still going to people who need to take care of themselves. So, excuse me, I feel a little nervous. Rather than seeing it as a disadvantage, why aren't we looking at the compassionate side of the fact that there's a lot of people who benefit, ranging far and wide from what we do right here. The state has been already telling us that within 2 years in a new structure, we'll already be handling the fact that those who come from Oakland and buy medicine here will be paying taxes here in this community, supporting us. So I think all that's going to smooth out and actually be in the place that we're talking about in terms of making any benefit from others outside of our area. The other thing I really have been just dying to say since the day of the last meeting downtown is please do your part, because I'm here to just talk to you, the others aren't here. Please do your part to enlist your co-representatives to have dialogues, to spend more time having realistic conversations. Don't be scared of us. Don't be scared of doing a due process. When we have 4.5 hours of people coming and sharing their hearts, over 90+% of the people there begged you not to ban cultivation. It was about a 3 to 4 minute decision, and it was banned. And then the word came from somebody within the representatives, one of them, who said, well, we're going to go for the vote because we want to do what the people say. We want to do what our voters told us we should do. Hey, you had the chance that day. 90+% and a million more out there listening on the radio. We're talking about, please don't do this. Please take time and talk about it. This is everything to us. Don't make a rash decision. And then the word was, sorry, we wouldn't do that. We want to honor the wishes and votes of our people. Because it wasn't done. And what happened with that last thing where the outdoor ban became permanent rather than just something that would be voted on in June shows me how seriously this time-taking needs to be looked at and adopted. Please, mistakes are being made that are hurting a lot of people by rushing decisions. Please, please, please. Thank you again for being here.
My name's Dave Lindsay. I've been here for 11 years, and the first thing I wanted to mention was there was a movie I saw at the Walden City Film Festival that addresses this perfect issue, and I'm glad you were here, what you said, because we have to reach out to every single group. And this movie was about 40 years of fighting over the water of the Klamath River, to where a person from each side said, we're getting nowhere, and we've got to find out and reach out to each other. And when they started talking to each other, they found everybody had so much in common.
Cell phones are supposed to be off, you guys. Come
You
on.
have to buy dinner for everybody.
You know, can I write a check?
Most of the people here, as you saw, do not approve of the big roads. They care about this county. They don't want the water thieves, they don't want the people cutting the trees down, using poisons like that. But the other sides of this, we may not take this man's, his needs of his farm and his family into consideration, the people that just do not believe in medical marijuana of any kind. We've got to find a way to reach out to each other and see we are the same, we care about this county. And we want to find a way to deal with this solution. And when these people started doing that, it took them 2 years, and they eliminated 40 years of bad blood and problems. Now, unfortunately, it's resting in Congress's hands. The governor of California and the governor of Oregon got together on this. It was a win-win situation. So my question is, would you be willing to be part of a community group where we have each side trying to find a common ground to educate each other about what our beliefs and needs are, what yours are, everybody in here, and the people out there that don't like any of this, because there's a lot of people are coming out of prohibition. How many years that's been? They're coming out of the fear of that. Just like when alcohol was allowed to be sold again. I lived in the South where there was places that had dry counties. What happened? Bootleggers.
Okay, you've asked your question, let me answer it.
Because I would like to volunteer to be part of that and to try to put a group together that would actually have some teeth.
Personally, it's from Hank Weston. When the vote is finished and if the decision is not to ban, I plan to be on that whatever working group is that comes up with something that works. I'm sorry I wasn't on the first one when it happened because both sides were so polarized that they never got to a point where they could even talk. No, you were just as bad, Pastor, just as bad. Now, back to your question. You want, first off, I cannot lobby, talk to any other supervisors, one other one. I can only, on this issue, we have to be in a silo. Because if I have a preconceived idea on any position, you can demand that I recluse myself. Now, in some cases, you don't want me off that dais. Things that affect you other than medical marijuana. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you want me off, then I sit out here and spout this is the way we should do it. The other side, the people who, and you talked about the majority. There was a silent majority. There was lots of people in that audience who started to come up to talk. And I happen to know because they're the ones that complained to me on the phone. We're coming down there, we're going to tell you exactly how we feel. They got scared. Now, I don't know why people get scared, but they were intimidated, scared. And I watched 3 of them who were in line turn right around and walk out. Because they didn't want to be abused or whatever affected them, they did not want that. So yes, in that audience was the majority of growers. But what I heard over 3 years, you're not the majority, you're the majority of the growers, but there's lots of other people out there who continually send things in and continually phone and continually complain. I know people, wait a minute, I know people, hold it, I will just tell you, I've gone to lots of properties, stood on people's decks and said, look at that. There's 100 plants growing right there. And I have to smell that all day long. Yes, okay. No, they're growing. And then I've gone to other properties where whole trees, people complain about logging. Well, if you saw what some of these people have done to the trees in this county, it'd make you cry. They just drop them and shove them into a pile. Now, the first fire comes through there, it'd be one hell of a fire, but they do that. They cut in rows. They put out pesticides. They put out poisons. So I've seen all of that. So
We don't like that.
wait a minute. I'm just telling you, I've seen it. It's talked about just like you talk among yourselves about things that occur. Government, that idiot, that person, you know what he's doing to us. They talk the same way, the people who don't want it. So this goes on, it's built to this point now where it's very volatile. Everybody's emotions are very high. And so, the question, would I search?
There's kind of a follow-up to that real quick. too,
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
Can I just follow up with him about what he just said?
Let him
About my
finish.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
You got 10
because-
seconds.
I would be glad to, I think we should start now because, look, we've had over 70 years of marijuana being banned, and it's now the biggest crime in the country. In all actuality, this ban's probably not gonna do anything. So how do we address all these people's needs? Is we have to find a common ground and find a solution that we can all live with.
Okay, none of you, you're in my district, I realize that, but you also have fellow growers throughout this county. I know where they are. I mean, they're not only in the 4th district, there are other places.
No, we're gonna have to represent them from everywhere.
They have to talk to their supervisors. They have to bring in their points. All they got when this thing started, coming forward, was just all these blatant emails, but there was no face-to-face discussion with them. I'm the only one that I can tell that met with growers, talked with them, listened to them. I like his idea. In fact, greenhouses came from you. Greenhouses came from you. I thought you were very upfront about that, but I realize it's your business, but you were.
Well, there's a reason why I got it.
Okay, let me ask, wait, hold on. Hank, we're running really short. Can we get an extra half an hour from you? Can we go to 7:45?
Please.
Please.
Wait a minute, you just told me I entrapped everybody.
And there's something else that I want to do really quick. And you guys, first of all, you're being really good. This is such a passionate thing. I just have to say, the other group, you mentioned that, everybody's really emotional about this, and there's no doubt. But let me suggest to you that we as patients, some of us are feeling desperate. We're desperately afraid. And we've had 2 officers come in. Can you guys introduce yourselves, please? Could you speak louder? What's your name?
Corporal Klinkenbeard, Jason Klinkenbeard.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Andrew Lillard.
Welcome. I just want you 2 to know that I'm advocating that you guys get a raise. Okay, Patty.
Hey, you can't lobby.
I already said that, though. Go ahead.
Okay, I would like to set the record straight when you said that the 2 sides at the first stakeholders meeting were totally polarized and couldn't find consensus. That is not true at all. When we had our first meeting, we broke off, we came to total consensus. The Alta Sierra people and ASA and everybody that was part of that group, and we gave it to Sheriff Royal, and he threw it in the trash, and then came up with 2349 and said, this is what we're going with. He did not listen, but the community came to consensus, and we can do it again.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here, I really appreciate it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to ask a couple questions really quick. How many of you guys, okay, in 1 second, just in 1 second. How many of you in this room think that Sheriff Royal is out of control? Gentleman in the back.
I think law enforcement, it just kind of goes that way. I'm sorry, my name is Joey. I live in Penn Valley. I live in a very conservative neighborhood. I love all my neighbors. We built after 5 years that I've been here. Strong relationship based on mutual affection, and our political views span the spectrum. I'm very liberal, but I don't like to call myself anything. I just try to be as smart about my decisions as I can. I just had 2 things. I'm a small grower. I've got maybe 20, 30 plants that I grow for my family and use it for medicine for myself and relaxing. Given that the state and the country is sweeping into a whole new paradigm of cannabis, fine. And how it's kind of crescendo to this point, it seems to me, certainly dialoguing is so key. Keep working at it no matter where it goes. We've got to find a common ground. That's democracy central right there. And it's about really reaching out to those who have different opinions. And I've been doing this one by one constituent at a time, talking about the issues because I want to know. They're afraid. They're afraid to go up. 2 of my neighbors were there. They wouldn't go to the mic for whatever fears, unfounded or otherwise. But, I feel that we're at a real point of where we can really make this work if we do the work. And I offer myself as someone who will be part of that dialogue process with you and whoever else we choose to bring into the dialogue. Okay. One quick question. I wondered why the board couldn't have considered what was happening in Grass Valley, where they seem to be taking an approach where they have a temporary ban that was easy to remove. It was kind of a safeguard measure. It dealt with the state issue, but it gave the city breathing room, whereas the board seemed to move in and made this very draconian decision in that time to, as you said, forestall the state's jurisdiction.
Fair question about, you remember that an ordinance that's in place can always be changed. It's not locked in. So the fact that if in fact you go and convince the other board members, not me, but other board members, that we need to readdress, after the vote, I can't impress enough on you is that the board members want the vote to take place. Period. Okay? That's what they want. So, wait, now, you talked about fear. Part of the other comments, not as heavy as this, but that I have received, is if the November election legalizes cannabis. It's a big change. And if that happens, this county, because it's already got a great reputation, will become a major grow county, because they're not going to grow it in LA, they're not going to grow it in San Jose, they're not going to grow it in San Francisco, they're going to take it from here. So there's a fear there. You gotta understand that people are fearful of their properties and everything, the criminal element. I can just go on and on. You read it all. So, in the back of the mind, I believe that's part of the process. Now, you talk about Nevada City and Grass Valley. It's easy for them to do what they did because they don't grow it. We grow it, it's in the county, the unincorporated area. They can do what they did, but we're the ones that have to deal with all of the issues involved with it. We're the only ones that has environmental health. We're the only ones that are going to be out there, law enforcement, taxing, auditor controller, and there's one other one that, ag commissioner. So that's all falls on the counties. So yeah, we will, if all this came about and taxes were generated, I don't know, you can't generate that much tax because I see what they're proposing in their November ballot, and it's not that much, and it doesn't say what percentage goes to local government. The only thing that they left in there, as they left in the change in March 1st, was local government has the control. We do have the power, even to the Constitution, that we control land use. So that's the only part of it. Now, what would come out of that? That's what I said. The state's got 2 years to figure this thing out. Why are they jamming it on the local government to quickly come up with an answer? I can't even give you, I can pull out the state laws, and it says, well, that'll be worked on, that'll be done, that'll be determined, all of that, yet I'm supposed to react to for the 98,000 people in this county, who I also represent. Even though I represent District 4, my primary job is the health and welfare of the county. So
It's a kick the can phenomenon. It goes from nobody wants to deal with it, so it ends up in the local hands.
Okay, hold on. Sandy, you've had your hand up forever, but you're short, so I've just seen fingers.
Hi, my name is Sandy Scott, and
How long have you been here?
up on the ridge, 27 years, in the county, over 30. We started out down in South County. And going back to your figures, as far as what the marijuana economy brings in, the question is, why do you only go back 10 years? I've been here over 30 years, and I've never known that it wasn't a part of this economy. The other thing is, my husband and I both have PTSD, we both have back issues. If we were to take the medications that the doctors prescribe, we'd both be addicts. I prefer to grow my own medicine, but because we're physically incapable of growing it, I have to have a partner. He comes in, he does the work. We live in a place that doesn't get a lot of sun, so we're not averaging 4 pounds a plant. We're lucky if we get a half to 1. my point is, it's not a one-size-fits-all for any of us. If I have to not grow, I make medicine for 6 people, my husband and I and 4 others, they count on it. I don't charge them, I don't make any money from it.
Then you're legal.
I'm sorry?
Then you were legal under the old ordinance.
I'm not.
Most of us were.
Plants outside, I can't put plants indoors there, it's just.
No.
Under the old ordinance, yeah, we're legal.
Yes, under the new one I'm not, but what I want to say is, if I can't grow, and if many of these people in here can't grow, then we have to spend our money on going down to Sacramento to a dispensary and
buy
buying
your own,
product.
the stuff that was illegally
Which
shipped out of here.
means that I don't have
At top
money
dollar.
to contribute to the schools, I don't have money to contribute to shopping locally. It's not that I'm making a profit on it, it's that whatever extra money I have would then have to go down the hill. And if I'm going down the hill, I'm gonna shop down the hill. I don't think I'm alone in this county in that.
I want to just take time to, because I'm the moderator, I get to do this. I want to expand on this. Mother Truckers,
I never had it.
Mother Truckers, our local store, actually started by people going down to the valley and getting food and bringing it up, selling it out of the truck. We are going to go back to that if this ban happens. What's going to happen is we're either going to have to buy it illegally from people who are growing, which makes us criminals, or we're all going to say, okay, I'm going down to the dispensary, I'm going to buy some, and while I'm down there, do you guys want me to pick up groceries because they're cheaper down there? And while we're down there, let's pick up our building equipment because it's cheaper down there. So essentially, we're going to be spending our money down here. There's a woman down here in a blue hat. Would you like to stand up and ask your question, please?
Sure, I'm a medicinal grower, smoker, and I was on 375 milligrams of morphine a day. What do I spend the rest of my life doing? Doing the morphine shuffle?
Yeah.
Or smoking pot, where I can be functional to kill my pain. It's a great financial impact on me.
I'm gonna, go ahead, David.
I arrived about 15 minutes late. Did you address the wording of this ordinance that is going to be on the ballot that you talked about?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be clear on the 9th.
On the 9th, they're gonna read it to you.
It will be, the agenda will have it.
1:30, 1:30. So anybody who's worried about the language, you get on the internet, pull it off Thursday when the agenda is released, and then be there and tell them what you think about the language.
On Tuesday.
The language, I've seen it, which I tried to work on it today to make sure it was very, my theory in government is, keep it simple, stupid. And so, that it's very clear, if the ban is voted down, meaning you do not support the ban, then as soon as it's certified, we will go in, the board will go meet and pull out the part of the ban and come up with some alternative, whatever the hell that alternative is.
Another ban.
Well, it won't be a ban, it'll be outdoor because you voted it down, no ban.
May I make a suggestion about that wording? Because it seems to me that the wording on the ballot is critical. If you're truly going to get the will of the voter has to understand. And as you first came out with it, it was very, I believe, quite misleading. And I think that was confirmed by the county council. So my suggestion is that you put something like the urgency ordinance is hereby rescinded in its entirety. I think that's real clear.
That's not what the language says.
No, I don't think
Focuses
it's
on
my
the ban.
suggestion.
Can you
Well,
read
if
it?
you, February 9th is which is a public hearing, is to go down there and explain exactly what you said. You've got to convince the other supervisors that that's a better language. And if that's a better language, then if it is rescinded, then what happens? Because that has to be in there also. You just can't throw
Yeah,
everything.
that's in the booklet that explained the voters get the
Oh, yeah.
explanation of it. That part would be in, but a lot of people don't read that.
Right.
They may go in and read what's actually on the ballot, and that's what I think is critical.
That's
Yeah.
normal, yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm working with them today to try and make sure that it was very clear language.
This gentleman with the glasses on, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tom Browning, my girl, spoke earlier. My family moved here in 1866. We moved down from Sierra County because it was too cold up there in Florida. So, I've heard a lot of good discussion here. Like my uncle, I think every patient should get marijuana. But I support the ban, and I want you folks to know that. You know, we lived here before marijuana. We lived here before Scotch Bloom, for God's sake.
You are dating yourself.
But I don't want to be known as the county that produces marijuana for the rest of the state. And it doesn't sound like
Why not?
So, yes, I have smoked it, and no, I'm not going to smoke it anymore because I don't think smoking is the very best way to take in THC. That's my opinion.
Or CBDs, but yeah.
But I like the conversation. I appreciate Mr. Weston coming out here, listening to us. There's other people on this ridge that support the ban. It's, you know, this doesn't represent everybody. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to, have you asked a question yet?
I have.
Okay, you can't then. Somebody who hasn't, go ahead, Michael.
My name is Michael. I've been in county for probably a little bit over 8 years now. And all the hyperbole aside, what I see, I think, is the root of what we're experiencing here is one of the many cultural wars that are happening in this country. And as it works out, this is just the way the world works, those cultural wars, which way they shake out is determined by power. And the power that be is rested in people who are presently populating county government, supervisor, sheriff included. The power of the people resides in the vote. If we don't get out there and vote, this is going to stay the way it is. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to get worse for the people who want to turn this around. So the only power that we have right now, and we have to exhaust this power before we can go to other forms of power, is to vote. Get out there and vote on the 7th. Vote if you don't want these people in power, get them out of power.
Yes.
Right? It's our right as citizens of this country, period, end of story. No, if you don't vote, the power doesn't go to where it needs to go. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like to make a comment, and that is your notion that they won't be growing it in LA, San Francisco, down here, wherever. More or less true. However, how many people on the ridge grow sunflowers for fun, profit, food, whatever? Good. Have you ever looked at the sunflower fields that are between Woodland and Yuba City? Those will be raised for the same reason that you don't grow too many sunflowers on the ridge, but you do grow a lot of pot. There will be pot down there grown industrial, 100,000 acres.
Yeah.
What remains of the economy up here is very iffy. So I would highly recommend that the board think about that sort of thing. You're not dealing with, oh, it's going to get legal and then we're going to have a wonderful fine. You know, and by the way, I think there's a bunch of different initiatives. I don't know which one, if anyone has actually made it on the ballot.
Well, I think they'll end up with, I can't remember his name, but he seems to have the most power and money behind it. And you're right, I mean, when I say that, this is comments that were made by people.
That's all I wanted to say.
But you're right, there will be all kinds of fancy greenhouses, you can probably make some good money.
Oh, so you're in business with them now.
You're right, there'll be as large as football fields down there, on that, all that vacant land that's been tilled under because there's no water. So
there's water now.
And that's true.
Okay, go ahead. And then Melissa, you're next.
Shannon Snow, been on the bridge about 14 years. You talk about a ban, but you haven't actually banned the growing of marijuana. You've only said no to outside. You've said yes to indoor. Now, when you grow outside, and I'm talking to this gentleman, you have that stink, and I'm not really fond of that stink either, but it's just a couple months in the fall. when you have these indoor grows, and you have your fans blowing it out, and you have a crop every 90 days, you're gonna have that stink 365 days a year.
Not to mention the noise of the generator running.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
For the off-grid.
Okay, Melissa, go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
My name's Melissa Thomas. I actually don't want to say how long I've been here. I think it's really irrelevant. But my thing, what I want to ask of you is, you know, you heard people come up for 4 hours at the meeting a couple weeks ago. You've listened to people now. I know you've gotten lots of emails. I want to know if anything has shifted for you. If you've gone farther from the thought of it being good to be able to go outdoor, or if you've gone closer. And I want to walk away with something tangible about understanding what went on. So, like on a scale of 0 to 10, if you feel more open, where are you in that? Or less open?
Well, I can't, if I give you my position, then the people who agree opposite of my position will tell me to get the hell off the dais because I'm already preconceived.
And can do that to him.
But, the question is,
Well, I don't know what that means. Who will tell you to get off the
whether
dais?
the group, the constituents and the citizens who are fed up, don't want any of the marijuana or cannabis grown in this county, they don't want to be known as a cannabis county, whatever term they want to use, if they know that I'm preconceived to a position of support for your philosophy, they can come in and say, he has spoken at places, and he has said these things, and therefore he is not open to the public comment. So then I have to, you can ask, I don't have it. Yeah.
So what
And I
they'll do
get
is
recluse.
they'll kick him off, he will be removed from.
I can't even participate in the discussion.
But you seem to be open with
I think I'm a pretty open-minded person.
I can attest to that.
I can too, because I called him and told him he was a liar, and he still lets me bump him.
You said this is a liar.
Well, okay, there's, who has not asked a question?
right here.
This gentleman, okay.
She hasn't
Okay,
asked.
you're
That
next.
lady right there, that guy right there.
Okay, this gentleman. Let's go quick, we've just got a few minutes unless we chain him up.
My name is Tom Boggs, I've been here 10 years, and I think it's important you know, you hear from someone like me who doesn't smoke pot. And I love my neighbors, and I love it here on the ridge, and I love the diversity here, and I love the fact that we have alternative healers, and so I don't smoke pot, I don't use it in any form, and I don't particularly care for the smell. But I support 100%, and I'm completely against the ban. I'm shocked, I'm appalled that what I see as a closed-minded board, and a lot of deceit and dishonesty. And I personally, I see if this ban holds, a lot of what I love around here, a lot of those people leaving. And chances are, I'm gonna be right behind them. That's what I have to say. Thanks.
Go ahead.
My name's Laura Donaldson. I would like to know, why is it okay, like for Sheriff Royal, to fly over and then make this crazy presentation and have red circles around all these awful grows that none of us want here, degrade the environment, are dangerous, compromise the health and safety, they're from out of town, we know it. Then why, he spends our money to fly over, but then doesn't do anything about them. They could have been around this year. Nothing happens. And then we're all homesteaders that have farms and chickens and we just want to live a healthy life.
I asked the same question.
Dion?
My name is Deanne Noel, and I've lived here 40 years. I have a statement
and a question. And the statement is, what we need to do between now and June is get organized, so that there is a place where we can go to know exactly what's going on. And I know that the Growers Association are attempting to do that. But Song, would you help to set up a website or something so that we will know where to go to get information? And get organized.
When I was with the search team, I was one of the search managers. I'm terrible on computers, but I'm really good at delegating, so I will work on that. I will work on that.
Okay, the question is, you said that if you come out with a specific position, you can get, what would happen?
Recluse?
Recluse. What about those supervisors who have made statements? How do we make them recluse themselves?
Right.
How it works is you come to the board meeting, and it has happened on several other issues. It has nothing to do with cannabis, but land use, for example, somebody who had a position that they testified publicly at meetings like this, something they loved and wanted, and they were asked to be recuse themselves from the debate, and you have to leave the room. And
Can they be forced to recuse themselves?
well, if there's enough pressure put on for somebody that said something that you believe in your mind that they are not listening to all sides, open-minded, and before they make it, in other words, if they come in with a decision made ahead of time, and you can prove it, that he said something or she said something, you can force them to go. I mean, the county council will say, there's enough information here that you probably should
Could we
recuse.
disqualify a previous vote?
Pardon me?
Could we disqualify a previous vote after the fact?
I don't think so.
So that wouldn't help.
So all of this is a part of organization.
First off, I'm not an attorney. I would never want to be an attorney, but
Deep down and buried 6 feet, they're really honest.
the bottom feeder.
Yeah, the sake of showing.
Okay, I can't speak, I can't speak to that part of it. I mean, if you could prove it, I guess you could bring enough pressure, but I don't think so.
Who hasn't asked a question? Go ahead.
So if the ban, if people say no to the ban, and you're saying that at what point, will you bring in a coalition of people to discuss how you're going to rewrite something, or is it only up to the supervisors? Or are you going to bring in
Probably all of the above.
I don't think you can answer his question, I'm wondering.
Well, we'd have to do something right away to meet the intent of the vote. And then how we went forward, I mean, it's pretty clear. From my standpoint, I've always wanted to vote, so it made it so easier for me to react, period, one way or the other. Somebody brought up, I think the gentleman right there said, I'd be leaving, and I have sat in groups, not as big as this, and probably not as vocal, but of homeowners groups that are just as passionate about getting them out of their neighborhoods as you are keeping it in your backyard. Okay, just as passionate. So, I mean, I've heard both sides. So, we would meet the intent of the ban, of the vote, not the ban, the vote. It would be a discussion where we go from here. Do we meet with a group and try to come to consensus? Do we put something in place right to carry us through until we have those meetings? It may take 6 months before anybody gets finally figured out what they really want, and there needs to still be something in place. So, how that comes about, you ever, like I say, you never want to see sausage made. That's what happens on that diet is sausage. Because we can't talk to each other. I mean, I understand the Brown Act, I really do. Everybody said, well, they're cutting deals in the back room or in the bar or wherever they're cutting the deals. Yeah, they were. But there's a lot of stuff that we could talk about just to find out where can we go with this. We can't do it. It's illegal. If you found out I was talking to another 2 supervisors, said, let's try and figure this out. It doesn't have to be about cannabis, anything. That's it. It's a Brown Act violation, $25,000 fine. So we're very careful. I can only talk to one, and then that person cannot relay what I said to the third one, because that's called serial meeting, and same violation. So we're all dealing with what you and the opponents, the opposite position, are bringing to us, that each supervisor is doing, or should be doing. And granted, in the 4th district, I have a lot more input than most of them.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt for just a minute and talk about the white elephant that's in the room.
I already gave you 15 minutes.
I know, but I just have to do this. Hang on to me, block the doors. And I'm going to be speaking to you. Sheriff Royal. Sheriff Royal is, in my opinion, overstepping his boundaries. I think that we have to be very careful when we have one individual who comes in and powers his way around. I don't believe that Sheriff Royal is going to stay here. I think that we are only a ladder. We are but a rung on his way up the ladder. I think we have to be very careful. I want you to be cognitive of the idea that every time you rubber stamp something for him, that goes on his resume. And I will say to you that I called Anderson, Supervisor Anderson, and I said to him, Supervisor Anderson, you better watch yourself. Now, I would like to think in my heart of hearts that Terry Lantner is not what they are accusing him of. But let me say this, I don't always get his last name right, but Terry, let me say that he was the last supervisor who voted against the sheriff and still is not being able to go to trial because of the evidence not being pushed forward. But I talked to a deputy a couple of weeks ago, and I personally, in my time with search and rescue, I came to love deputies. And for those of you who know me, I'm too much of a cop to be a whole bunch of hippie, and I'm too much of a hippie to be a cop. But when I talk to that officer, and I come from a family of law enforcement, and I say to him, do you like Sheriff Royal? And he looks at me and he says to me, we never see him, he's a politician. I will tell you that I was madder than hell. Because these gentlemen in the back here put their lives on the line every day. They come out here and they are willing to go fight with domestic people who fight domestic. I'm talking to you, mister. I'm so sorry, I apologize. But when I hear that our chief commander in charge of our deputies does not connect with them, does not make sure that they're doing okay, and that they're getting their therapy and counseling when they go into really ugly situations, and for a girl who has picked up people's brains out of the ground, those of us who have PST need counseling. I just want you to be cognitive of that thought, that he is not going to stay here. My father taught that man in the police academy. That man is on his way to somewhere. And on that resume, it's going to say, Sheriff Royal, well in office, was able to get a complete ban, was able to get this ordinance whenever he asked. All of that is being put on there. So let me say to you, to be very careful, because you're my daddy. When you say, who's your daddy? I say, Hank Wesson's my daddy. So let me...
You take our DNA?
So let me suggest to you that you be cognitive of that, because I don't think you're going to leave this county. I think you're here to stay. And Melissa, the reason I ask people to say how long they've been here, because I want him to know that these people did not show up here to grow pot. We live here and we happen to grow pot. But we did not live here just to grow pot. Right. There are people who moved here to just grow pot. How many people in this county, in this room, would like those people who moved here just to grow pot to go away?
Really depends on the person. Depends on your neighbors, what?
If that's all they're doing.
If that's all they're doing and they're not contributing, they're not donating to Freed for Honest Group, they're not donating to the library, they're not helping this center, they're not helping...
Say they're not.
You know, okay, I just want to say this.
I volunteer to grow pot and I volunteer 2 days a week at Sammy's Friends and I'm involved in the community.
There are people
I volunteer to grow pot. I'm a nice guy. I'm not trashing.
There are people that live
Thank you.
elsewhere and come here and grow pot.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so, okay, go ahead, gentlemen in back.
There you go.
My name is Daniel Williams. I was born in this county. I'm 66 years old. I've lived in and about a number of areas in the county over the years. I've traveled widely. I live back here in the San Juan Ridge now for quite some time. I'm not a grower. I have severe arthritis. I'm on meds that they give me, that are prescribed to me, that just violate my body all the time, okay, constantly. What other options do I have besides being locked into a system that requires me to take the medications that they're prescribing us, that keep us walking or moving and yet feeling like hell, okay? We have to look for alternatives, and that's what marijuana is. It's been a medicinal plant forever. It always will be. It's for us to use. Mr. Weston, I'd like to point out a couple of things real quick, just to ask you, sir. A couple of years ago, at the town hall meeting here on the Ridge, I went before you with a number of other people and we asked, why can't we get the transportation back?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
A lot of us need it. Why can't we get that? Instead, we're locked into this issue. It's taking up all our time and our energy, putting a lot of fear into the community. I know a lot of people that are really, really upset that aren't here tonight. Where's their voice coming from you?
I'd rather a bus than another
Where's our
helicopter.
transportation? We can't even get the transportation back, and yet we're locked into having to deal with an outright ordinance, a ban against the medicine that I personally need, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not a grower. I'm a user. I use it topically, directly for my arthritis. I have to rely on other people that know how to grow it because I have a lousy green thumb, okay? Now, if somebody here gives me some, that makes them a criminal.
No, not if you give it to you.
What?
Yes, it does.
Not if you give this.
Yes.
Tell us we're wrong in this.
It will understate.
Wait a minute. Okay, I want one person from, who says it will, to tell us how it will. So with Patty, go ahead.
Under the new state law under MRSA, you can only grow for yourself on 100 square feet. Anything you donate, loan, borrow, trade, barter, sell is illegal. So your law is going to make us illegal under state law.
Yeah, so I'm already illegal, whether I want to be or not, okay? So the other part I want to bring up real quick is, in the years that I've lived here and been here in the community, you know, active in different ways, different folks, I've seen a lot of disenfranchisement happen to our part of the county. We're disenfranchised. We're the last ones to get on the list for anything.
Can't get our roads fixed.
You know? We're the last ones to be considered for the help that we need. Instead, we're the first ones to get an ordinance that are going to alienate even more of us in the community. And that's what I have to say, sir. And also, when it comes your turn, or anybody else's turn here, whose body starts failing them, and they need the medicine, and they need the alternative help, where are they going to turn? They're going to be looking at you, sir, and they're saying, why didn't he help us? Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say something. We don't know how this gentleman's going to vote, but this gentleman showed up here tonight. I want to publicly apologize for calling him a liar. And I want to say something else. He's given us, he has said this over and over. I got lots and lots of letters from the other side. So, what does that mean to us?
That's Make them available for public.
You network,
You call your neighbors, you get involved, you call people in other districts and have them call their supervisor and say, hey, we need to talk. Now, I don't know if we've resolved anything in this room tonight, but I think just the opportunity to sit here and to be able to talk to him, instead of him being up there, we say what we say, we hope they're not falling asleep, we hope they see us, but for me, I left this night a really nasty letter when Pascal, hallelujah for Pascal, and for her attentiveness to detail. When she put it out that this had happened, I immediately called him up and was like, you all know, you've been songed. And so I just want to say to him personally, thank you so much, you're very brave. But again, I want you to remember that I don't think you're living anywhere. So you're going to be living with us, where I do think Sheriff Royal is going to, we hope he goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're not going to make suggestions on where he goes, but we hope he goes.
Let me answer this question.
Go ahead.
On transit. We got cut another $1 million by the governor this year in transit tax. We did offer a van and a gas to be up here to transport folks. We had no takers. Nobody wanted to sign up and be the reservation person.
Sure didn't make enough people know about it.
So I tried, even after they cut the first $1 million, then they cut another $1 million. So I tried to get a van up here. Van was going to be parked. You guys could set up your own reservation system, get in the van, we pay the gas, drive down to your doctor's appointments, and then go back. Nobody wanted it.
Take it out of your helicopter budget.
So better communication. The only reason we have this meeting today, because I called and said, I don't even live here anymore, you guys. So everybody's got to get more active. Everybody has to step up to the plate and do something. Go ahead.
You know, after listening to some people that were talking about in support of the ban and everybody that's passionate about not having the ban, I think it's really important that you reach across the lines, us. I don't grow, I don't smoke, but I have a lot of friends and family that do, and I have businesses that are going to be affected by this, no doubt in my mind. I know my customers. But I think it's important to take away the fear that the people have, that for the reason why he had this to vote for the ban. Okay, he's hearing from other people. We need to reach across the lines and talk to these people, educate them on it. We too don't like the big grows. I'm on your side. I don't want the big grows. I don't want the BS that comes along with it. Okay, and that's the thing, is we're actually all on the same side. We don't want the big grows. Okay, we want it for people that need it. And until we start to let people know that we're on the same side and that we will work with you to get rid of the big grows. We all know where the big grows are. We can tell these guys right now, those are the guys you want to go for. But we don't have that community yet with you guys to say, hey, Hank, you guys want to go and you know, tax people or what should I say, penalize people civilly for having a plant in the ground, whatever that turns out to be. People would gladly pay $100 a plant to put into getting more deputies that would supervise this, and you would get the information from us anonymously. Hey, here's a legal grow. Hey, here's a legal grow. So that everybody that wants this to happen would be on the same page. So we need to educate the people that are afraid of this so that they understand what's going on. Because they're obviously scared. They won't get up here and talk. They wouldn't do it at the Board of Supervisors meeting. That's the people that you need to flip. You saw Measure S. Everybody got their asses handed to them, 64%. We need to get those people on our side to understand that we want the same things they do and be respectful of that. And the only way that that's going to happen is if every community does that. That's all I have to say.
So I have a question for the cops.
Go ahead.
Hi, could the officer step in the room a minute?
The officers, he wants to get you on film.
Please, first of all, actually I want to ask you a question. Come on in the room, please. It's okay, we're not going to hurt you.
Okay, I want to say something.
My question is, I'm talking right now. How would you feel if tomorrow morning the supervisors voted that you can't have sugar coffee because it affects your judgment?
Can't smoke in Nevada City.
Good.
Cigarettes.
So, I do have
That's an actual question.
Oh, wait, let's see if these officers want to answer. Would you like being told what you could put in your coffee?
No.
Unfortunately, we can't really comment on your guys' debate here, just the same reason that Hank Weston can't say whether he supports or denies the ban. I understand what you guys are doing.
You're not even allowed to express your own opinion.
We understand the analogy also.
As long as you understand it.
Excuse me.
Stupidity can go a long way.
Excuse me, I will not tolerate our deputies being harassed under any.
It wasn't harassment, that was an honest question.
Just be careful, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Anika. I've lived here for 15 years. I work at a local garden shop. I consult with a lot of you guys for medicinal marijuana growing and recreational. I'm not under any fallacy that it's just medicinal around here. I don't agree with turning anybody in against anyone. I think we all collectively have to unite as growers together, regardless of any scale we're on. The reason I have to say that, I don't feel I'm nervous and I can't fit everything in, but what I do want to say is that working in this industry, I go into national and international levels, and I'm exposed to a lot more than just this county. And right now what's going on is we are in dialogue all over the world, including Jamaica. We just legalized. And I don't know how many of you have been to Jamaica. It was pretty intense up until about a year ago. And they don't grow anywhere near the quality of medicine that's done up here. I know that the majority of the people I see every day that I consult with are not these big growers. They're boutique growers, I like to call them. Because we are working on quality medicine in this industry. Some of the stuff that was brought at the board meeting, I was sitting at the shop waiting for all you guys while the meeting was going on, but I was watching it online. And what I saw was just a lot of division and bringing up a lot of scare tactics. And I was part of a panel discussion at Growing Green on the river that was sponsored by Circle last March, and there was a lot of talk about getting in compliance and our environment and being conscious growers. And I think that's where we need to look at, because we're not going to stop what's going on. It's a revolution. It's outside of this county. It's going to go way past what we're doing here. What I say y'all do, just to cut it off short, is we take that money that we're all not making, and I have a legal job, I like a paycheck, I pay my taxes, and we put paid for by cost, cannabis cash. Let's make a movement. Let's start seeing the business owners put that money on social media. Let's start seeing it. Let's just make a movement without talking and actually take some action. Just let it show up in Royals' pocket, you guys' pockets. So when they're paying for their coffee, they hand it to the cashier. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Is there anybody who has to have some, okay, go ahead. Last couple.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. I too am a long-time resident. I was here 20 years, taught in the county, taught before I moved here, been skinny dipping in the river for 52 years. We all have that concern, I think, at heart. It's common. The river, the conservation of our environment, and also the conservation of our economic well-being. When I started coming here in the 70s, most of downtown was shuttered. The reason that people got property here was because it was among the most oppressed counties in the state. I don't want to see a return to that. But my question for you is, I don't understand how the Board of Supervisors appears to ignore the research that's been done on the economic benefit to the county. Health benefit notwithstanding, I'm a cancer survivor, I too am amazing also. And so I value that aspect of it, but the economics of it is really significant for our county. The woman, Sarah Keene, who came here from Cornell last year and the year before and did a study.
We talked about that earlier.
Thanks, yeah, I wasn't here. Sarah's research set a minimum of the value of the cannabis crop to this county, notwithstanding what was added, to this county, the impact at $400 million. And outside at $1.2 million. My outside estimate, and those of many of my fellow growers and friends, is $2.1 billion.
Well, show me a certified accountant, because the figures that we have in the county, we don't see that kind of money.
Who would report it?
Well, we talked about sales taxes, and we did go there. Go ahead.
I have just a couple of quick comments and a question. The first
first thing that I want to address is that this is clearly a very valuable thing, a very valuable part of our world. And right now we're in the midst of a progressive movement to utilize that value. It's literally saving lives. It's helping children go to school who are things you don't want to see. Seizures, you know, like imagine your grandchild right here in front of everybody. You don't get a choice. You're on the ground. So they need heroes. They need somebody to step up and say, yeah, this is really confusing gray area, but this is gonna, in the end, it's gonna help people. It really is. And it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take some growing in terms of people's just developing a more mature relationship with it, because most people come into the cannabis culture and they're little kids in a candy store, literally. They're like, wow, this is like totally not addictive and totally fun, and like I can do all of this. So there's a bigger picture. And so to bring that around, my question is, how is this ordinance going to actually address getting big growers out of here? Because from what I see, this is the same ordinance as before, except you're saying zero plants outside versus 12 plants or whatever square footage requirements on your size of your parcel. How is this actually going to change that? Because what I hear walking around up here is that the peoples who are big growers are stoked because you're running us out of town. All the little guys, like I actually overheard this term, a T. What is a T? It's a ton. These are the people who are going to be owning our land because we're not going to be able to afford our mortgages. We're not going to be able to stay here. And we're the people who are wanting to make this a really special thing, not just like tie-dye and free love, but actually like a really good thing.
I don't, go ahead. But wrap it up, because he stated...
Thank you so much. So my question is, how is this actually going to address those problems?
Well, I asked a question during the hearing of the sheriff. Was this going to make a difference of all those big pictures you showed with the red lines around them? And he said yes. That's what he said. So afterwards, I just said, I expect you to take the big guys out, the ones that have 10 scripts with photocopies that are just playing this game and not growing for their own families. It's just a way of getting more growth and selling.
Well, if nobody complains?
So, well, yeah, but if he's flying over, or he knows that there is that kind of a growth there, we gave him the ordinance that he wanted, then he very well, we should do his job and take him out.
I just want to say that Sheriff Royal is not doing his job. There are so many big roads that can be seen forever. My vet has seen armored cars come in delivering cash to her neighbors. And they have greenhouse after greenhouse after greenhouse after greenhouse. I know they're not yours. So, but we have to wrap this up. We have to wrap this up. And show of hands, do you guys, was this good?
Can we turn this into an advertisement?
Okay. Do you hear us? Do you see us?
I see you. I had already heard you.
I hope your woman's not jealous.
No.
You're on, Dad?
Nothing that I heard tonight was new to me because I've lived it through my personal life. I understand exactly what you're saying. How we fix this, I think whoever talked about get across the bridges. Here's a simple thing. I may be naive, but what do you read in the Union every day?
Lies.
What do you read?
Opinions.
Who said frustration? Who did this? Who did that? There's nothing positive. You know, to me, one of the things, and maybe it's the alternative practitioners and everybody have got to start the dialogue to explain to people what the medicine does. That this is not a profit issue. This is to provide medicine for the local people. Your message isn't out there. The message is negative. The message of cannabis is negative.
No.
You've got to
No, it
turn it
isn't.
around.
It sounds good.
No, what he is saying is true. What is hitting the union is negative. And how do we fix that? We write letters. We get people who are smart and articulate.
Talk to your neighbors.
We talk to neighbors. We go talk to those people who don't look like us. I'll tell you, before I joined Search and Rescue, I didn't really like cops very much. It wasn't until I stood beside Danny and I stood beside all these other officers, and I would get in the middle and say when people were mad, hey, you don't get to talk to this officer this way. And I found out this man back here, he cares about his family. He cares about his community. We have to. That's why I say talk to your deputies. Walk up and introduce yourself to them. You know, we have some of the best deputies in this county, and we have to start, we have to talk to them. We have to value them. We have got to cross lines. We have got to cross lines. And if we're not willing to do that, because don't you think that we're really the smarter ones? Aren't we the enlightened ones? Aren't we the ones who know the way? So if we don't take that initiative to start talking to these people who don't look like us, who don't believe the same way you do, then we're not being progressive.
Can I just say one thing? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Some of you know me. I'm Jessica. Some of you don't know me. I've been up here. I've been down the hill.
Just hurry up.
You need to educate people.
Yes.
You need to use your voice. You need to stand together. You need to register to vote. Not a lot of people register to vote. People don't come forward. They don't use their voice. And you need to. You need to educate people that this is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. It's just like going to the pharmacy and getting pills, but those are toxic to your body. Yep. This is an herb. What's grown in the ground with or without herbicides. Without. Well, I know. I'm just saying. Not a lot of people know that.
Okay,
so
you
need to educate.
I would like to say one thing to Supervisor Weston as somebody who has ended up on the front page of the debate and had all the charges fabricated against him and all the charges were dropped. Here's my business card. I would love to show you all the fabrications that went on my case if you have time. I'll come to meet with you anytime, any place, anywhere.
I'd like to add to that, I've had machine guns in my face by officers, and everything I was doing was above board. They fabricated the search warrants. I had about 30 officers at my place. About a third of the plants allegedly seized were allegedly found on my property, and they'd all fit in an area about this big. Everything we were doing above board, and I still had a machine gun in my face.
Okay, so I think what we've learned today, I think we've learned a lot. I cannot thank you enough for coming up here and talking to us. Everybody else go. Shelley, go ahead.
I just want to say I've been a part of the ASA a number of years. I don't want my picture taken. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'll delete it.
I've been a part of ASA. I'm a part of the Tax and Regulate Coalition. We meet every week. I'm a part of California Growers Association. Women Grow. Get involved, you guys. Don't just sit here and complain about everything. Get involved. Educate yourselves. Talk to your supervisors. That's all.
If you haven't registered to vote, we have these cards here. You can take one home with you tonight.
Please register to vote. And also, I just want to say this is the first event in the entire time that I've been to this ridge that people showed up on time. Thank you, guys.